All right, well, welcome to Whiskey Tango Talks. I'm here with Instructor Jay and Instructor Karen with Gaurdian Training and Consulting. We did a brief video on Instagram prior to them coming on. For those that didn't see it, I couldn't get it to fit the screen for some reason, but Nance did, so he re-tagged it and posted it. But welcome. I'm glad to have you on. Cheers, first off.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having
I
us.
know, I appreciate it. So, prior to you guys coming on, I had Mike and Joe on, and we talked a little bit about tactical training. And so they forward your name to me in kind of a group message, which I appreciate the shout out, and local businesses helping local businesses.
Yep.
Even though I'm not a business, we are a podcast and we want to do what we can to help Arizona in a whole. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Karen? All right, got it? All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I got it. So Gaurdian Training Consulting was started, the genesis of Gaurdian Training Consulting started when Karen and I met. We met about 2 years ago. We worked for a local gun range. And a lot of that was, we were teaching together and we taught separately, but what we started to notice before we really synergized with Gaurdian was we have a recipe, I guess, of success. That's the best way of explaining it is. We can reach demographics that otherwise alone we could not reach. So we started teaching for the local gun range, and it went well, but they wanted us to teach within a certain specific curriculum. We're gonna put us in a box, and we got the talks of, you're doing too much too fast too soon. We have to sell the next class, and it's no disrespect to local gun ranges because we have to work with them because we have to do live fire shooting there. But a lot of their mentality is, because I've worked for 3 in the Valley, is sell guns, which they don't make money actually on guns. But they use training as a conveyance for those products. So that leads to guns, leads to magazines, leads to all that. So when we left, we said, you know what, we're gonna start a company on our own. And when we started that company, our mission was, we chose the name very, very specifically, Gaurdian. We did not want to be a tactical company that did training. We want to be a training company that can teach tactics. And so we chose Gaurdian. And the aspect of Gaurdian means you're a guardian of your family, you're a guardian of your community, you're a guardian of your children, and your friends, or whatever means to you, your congregation. But that mindset is yours to own. We just provide the service for you to be successful in that Gaurdian mindset. Then our logo, we had to rebrand our logo.
I was going to ask about that. It was literally the day after we took your guys' course that you come out with a new logo. So what's that?
So we rebranded our logo. We started with the G with the angel wing on the side. Working with Travis Haley, I work with Haley Strategic. Working with a lot of people in the industry, they're like, it's just way too busy. And okay, but yeah, go ahead.
So I was gonna say we hired the original logo that we came up with. We actually hired a what do you call them, a graphic artist, and so we were doing everything like remotely. And I actually have an art background, and so I was trying to sketch it, and it was kind of frustrating for me to have to give it to somebody else to
render their own.
To render their own, and it just wasn't right. It never really was right. It was good, and people were kind of attracted to it because, you know, we would go out in public with our shirts on, and people would just kind of look at us. For some reason, when I
saw the logo, I thought fox. I don't know why.
Fox?
Like just the animal. Like,
okay.
I don't know why.
Because of the wing, probably.
Maybe a fox.
So another thing we had that ruined Karen was one of our friends looked at it and thought,
oh, so yeah, one of our really good friends, we love him dearly, but, you know, was brutally honest. He said, oh, it looks like a mullet. The wing looks like a mullet. And I was like, oh, you son of a, now I can't not see that.
Yep.
And then I discovered that and going off of what Travis he's kind of been mentoring us a little bit. He showed us that if you actually put some pictures into PowerPoint, you can manipulate them. And because I had that art background, and back in the day I was taking Adobe Illustrator, but it was so many years ago, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I notice this before? I could have messed with our own logo
Right.
a long
Render,
time ago.
yeah.
And I just felt like I needed a graphic artist to do that. So we started messing around, and I found something like this online. I was able to manipulate it a little bit, and now it depicts more of what we were kind of going after. It kind of looks like hands that are kind of cupping,
Yeah.
wings, like angel wings, without it being too religious or too, just
Too pigeonholed, so-
yeah, we didn't want it to be.
And then we wanted to
Anything
leave,
specific.
and we wanted to leave the center blank because that is what you're guarding. That
Right.
is what's important to you. And the reason it's blank is because we're not going to tell you what's important to you. The motivations for you to attend training and to become a guardian is totally yours. We just provide you the tools and the training for that.
Perfect segue, right? So I'm regular Joe Smo listening to the podcast. Why come to Guardian? Why obtain a concealed carry license here in Arizona when you don't need one?
Sure. So we get that question a lot.
Right.
Both from a respectful manner, like you asked, why, or we get the trolls that are like,
Right.
this is a constitutional carry state. Why do you need a concealed carry permit?
Yeah, I know my rights.
And usually when they're in the backseat of a patrol car, that's usually what they say. I know my rights. Well, you're in the backseat of a patrol car. But that's a great question. So one is the training. I've been teaching this class for now 6 years. This not Guardian's class, but a form of concealed carry permit classes for 6 years in Arizona. The first and foremost thing we get is training. Because we talk about ignorance of law is not an affirmative defense of said law. I didn't know. Well, that really doesn't fly at all in a court of law. So the training, that's the big part. Knowing where to carry, where not to carry. I also say who not to shoot and who to shoot. We won't give you a list of names.
Yeah,
we won't do that.
right.
And then the big question is, how do I interact with law enforcement when I'm armed? That's a big thing.
And that was my favorite part of the training.
Really?
Yes, because you had made a comment about the first thing you do when you get pulled over when you have a weapon in the car is not to stick your hands out of the car like a felon. And I specifically remember looking over at Robbie going, oh, I was told to put my hands out the car, so that's what I do. Yeah. And right as I said that, you're like, don't put your hands out of the car. You look like a felon. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, well, hear them out. Let's figure out why.
Sure.
And the step-by-step process, and as law enforcement walking to the car, you never know what's going to happen. And approaching the situation calmly, as you explained it, for the police officer, for yourself, to maintain a respectful relationship, to let that officer know, I do have a weapon in the car, this is where it's at, this is, versus sticking your hands out the window. Mm-hmm. Now you don't know what the hostile threat could be.
Sure.
Why are their hands out their window? What have they done in the past? Do I need to, know who's really behind the wheel of this car now?
Sure.
What's the situation? Like, why are they did they do something?
Correct.
So, for me, it was kind of an eye-opener.
Really?
Yeah. And the other one was, I think somebody in the class had said, hands on the window or hands on the roof, mm-hmm. or something like that, which, I get the hands on the window. You're showing clear that there's nothing in your hands, but, yeah. But your take on it was great.
Appreciate it.
I've never really heard anybody explain why that's a problem. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just kind of a red flag, it's distracting. So
Mm-hmm.
just act normal, keep your hands on the wheel like you normally would anyway. So when people do those weird movements, it just draws our attention, and it might be distracting us from something else. But to go back to your question, you asked about why Guardian, why come to us for training, and it's simply because of our training and experience. So we can field all of those questions from every student, from every background. We'll be able to answer that due to our training and experience. It's not something we read in a book or watched in a video, or it's not something learned. And it's, again, no disrespect to those that are out there in the training world, and they may not have this combination of training and experience that we have together, which just makes us kind of a, dare I say it, we're a little bit of a powerhouse. We're male, female. We've got tons of law enforcement background and just teaching experience, and it just makes us a little bit more ahead of the game than most, I think.
So I will say this about your class, and this, I'm not saying it because you guys are here on my podcast. I didn't have to have you on. You
No.
guys didn't have to come on.
You're right.
This was completely genuine. This was completely just 100% like, these are good people,
That
right?
means a lot.
Your class teaches community, and that's what people need to understand. As law enforcement and somebody who has never been law enforcement, I am prior military, but I mean, there's still an understanding of what you guys do. For those that don't understand, the community that you created in your class for understanding what law enforcement have to go through, and that community has been battered. It has been bashed in media and in the public eye. Cops are the enemy right now. There's no one wants to be a cop right now. Nobody.
Yeah.
Because of the shit you guys take on a day-to-day basis. The community that you build for people that come to take your class show that you are fucking regular people too.
Yeah.
And that part of the class is like, oh shit, like more people need to take this class so they understand why it's prudent to carry, why it's, not prudent for some people to carry.
Yeah.
Like, because there are imbeciles out there. Like just
sure.
this morning during our photo shoot, we took the shotgun out. Didn't bother anybody with it. We're obviously carrying a bunch of props for the shoot, and it wasn't until we left an area that somebody went and told the office of where we were at that they felt uncomfortable about the shotgun and
After.
they needed to leave the premises. Yeah, so they asked us to leave. But it's like, what were we doing wrong with that shotgun? It wasn't pointed at anybody, it's a prop. We used it strictly for a prop, and we were still asked to leave because of uneducated people.
Correct. And that's really what comes down to. I mean, I'll give you another example. I had to pick up a friend's kid at school. I had my uniform on, and I walked in, and I didn't have my full uniform on. I had a training polo and pants, and I had my badge and everything, and walking towards the door, they're like, that guy's got a gun. It's like,
Well, I'm a cop.
he's a police. They didn't approach me.
Oh.
They approached somebody else, and then I overheard their conversation. And the lady that was there is like, the other person is like, that guy has a gun. It's like, yeah, he's a police officer.
Right.
He's one of the good guys. He's one of the good
Right,
guys.
right.
If God forbid there's an incident that happens, and that's the reality that as you get into this job and into law enforcement, you realize you're viewed as the control in the utter chaos.
Right.
And again,
Well, you're not wanted until you're wanted.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I've been to many gang member houses that are screaming for the police one day, and then the next day we're getting the middle finger salute as we drive by.
Right.
And you're like,
Fuck those putos. Right.
well, but it's a reality, but we still serve them just like anybody else, and that's what it's about. That community. So.
And one of the things I feel like with media, it's almost like a brainwashing in a sense that to use a football term, it's like, I feel like we need to throw the flag and say, look, people need to understand that they have a right to protect themselves. You don't have to be a victim. So if it means carrying just to be ready, just in case, it's not like we're not trying to force it down anyone's throats. Just go back to basics of saying, look, I don't want to be a victim.
Right.
And I'm going to take control of my life, and I'm not going to let, the media tell me I'm wrong or feel bad for wanting to protect myself.
Here's the other part of it. You see how in what was it, New York, those guys like smashing the cops in the head with like
The water, yeah. Dumping water on their heads.
Right.
As they're trying to arrest somebody.
Yeah.
So frustrating to watch
and
that.
I see that and I think to myself, okay, so what happens when the police don't want to police anymore? What happens when that happens? Martial law, motherfuckers. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And then instead of having police who are there to protect and serve, now you have the military coming in,
Yeah.
who are going to be
The government.
the
basically,
government.
on a
And
bigger
it's
level.
going to be head cracking and skull smashing, and they're not there to serve and protect. They're there to get order.
Correct.
So
and you make a great point, and I'll give you a classic example I run into. One of my first pursuits was 20 miles an hour. It was adrenaline pumping, brand new officer, but it was a 20-mile-an-hour pursuit.
Right.
And the vehicle finally stopped, but we did 5 miles. I was behind this car, lights and sirens, 5 miles. And this is where you're talking about the police in the United States. We stopped her. She, we didn't put her at gunpoint or anything, but we stopped her. She came out, and she's from another country. And I'm like, why didn't you stop for the police? She's like, because if I stop for the police in my country, they typically kill you.
Oh, wow.
Like dead right there because
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong neighborhood, or I'm going the wrong way, or I'm wearing a certain garb, or I represent a certain family. And that really just struck me because this person comes to the United States possibly for a better life, and they're the first law enforcement contact they have. They're terrified, and it was just I was stopping her for some minute, traffic violation because that's my job to ensure traffic safety.
And the other side of that, in Europe, you're taught to pay the cop for their services.
Mm-hmm.
In Germany, when your police officer pulls you over, it's $20 out of the pocket.
Sure.
Hand them, thank you for your service, and then you move along. It's not a bribe; it's a payment for their service.
Correct.
It's bananas how different.
Or
it is.
the countless stories of us gringos going to Mexico and running into the municipal
federales,
police.
yeah.
And so
It might have happened in some big cities back in the day, like a certain city that I'm familiar with.
yeah, but it's a different world that we live in, and no matter how bad this world is getting, that we perceive that it's going to shit,
Yeah.
it's truly getting better, in some regards.
When you look at it across the board, 100%. I just think media aspect we're going so far south. I didn't say right or left.
No, it's
we're
become
going so far south in the aspect of our values.
Well, let's talk about that really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The far right and the far left.
Yeah,
They're, in my opinion, they're both out of their minds.
out of their minds.
They're out of their minds.
Yeah.
It's the moderates, it's the people that go, I can see it from that perspective.
We've talked about it time and time again on this podcast, and I tell people on personal levels outside of this podcast too. When it comes to my political views, I'm right centered. Mm-hmm. When it comes to my social views, I don't give a fuck. You do what you do. I'm very left wing when it comes to my social views. I don't care. As long as you're not harming children, raping women, or killing, whatever it is you do, kudos. Have at it.
Right.
I don't care.
Sure.
When it comes to political views, it's one thing. But when you start talking far right and far left, you go far enough left, you get your guns back. Mm-hmm. Those people want to see anarchy.
Sure.
You go far right, you get like the Hillsborough Church, is that what it was? Of them like spitting on Hillsborough, spitting
the
on
Baptist
soldiers,
church, the Baptist church, yeah.
soldiers' graves and all, like, it's bananas.
Correct.
It's like, how do your political views become so
Skewed,
skewed?
yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And that's again, it's like we try to, again, I'm going to give you my take as Instructor Jay. I truly believe that the U.S. Constitution is a living document. That is like my political views. That
You're a libertarian in that aspect.
I don't like to be labeled.
Okay.
So I'm a millennial by
So
birthright.
don't call you tranny.
I'm a
Okay.
millennial by birthright. I'm entitled to that. I'm entitled to that. That title.
You're not entitled to anything.
I'm entitled to that title, but I don't identify as it.
Gotcha.
But the fact of the matter is, I truly believe that the U.S. Constitution, and it's not a libertarian thing. It's just I truly believe in the greatest values of this country. And as a veteran, but both veterans, we're patriots.
Where are they at now, though?
What's that?
Those values.
What do you mean?
Where are they at?
I just have them in my back pocket.
I just want you to look at everyday life. Where are those values at?
It's in my heart and my mind.
First Amendment, where's that?
Yeah.
Freedom of speech is gone, sir. It is gone.
Yeah.
You get doxxed and you get berated on social media for saying certain things now.
Sure.
They excommunicate you from sites now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have freedom of speech. Your Second Amendment, you got people right now
Hell
that
yes.
are doing what they can to try to take guns.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like when you really break it down and look at it, few and far every day, a little bit more of that quote unquote freedom is being.
Well, and I think it comes back from the division of this country, and the division of this country, and
I got a great question. I got a great question. Don't mean to cut you off.
No.
What do you do as a police officer, okay, and a former police officer, right, and air marshal,
Right.
when they say, oh yeah, we have a Democrat in office and we are taking back semi-automatic weapons? What do you do as a police officer when you now are on the side of having to fulfill out those
The laws.
laws?
Right. That's a question I've banged around my head a lot, and that's where the professional side comes in and the personal values comes in, because, and I
Think
it's-
about
it's a
how
very-
many of your brothers and sisters out there,
yeah, that would, and it's
friends, families,
it's
uncles,
so many people. It's so many people.
sisters, you know.
It's so many people, and I can't be as political as some other law enforcement officers, but I've looked at it hard and fast, and it comes down to, you have to stand up for what you think is right, and if it's whatever the case may be, if it's leaving the department or it's staying on and trying to fix it from the inside out, but I think it's going to take a movement. I think looking at recent things that have been said by politicians pertaining to the Second Amendment, it's going to take a movement to change that. And I think
it's a hard question.
it is. It's a very tough question because I don't know what I would do. And we talk about like, for example, defense scenarios or what I would do if somebody starts shooting. We can have a plan, but you don't really know what you will do until that line comes to your toes, and you have to make a decision whether you step over that line, or you stand on the line, or you step back from that line.
Right.
And and again, whatever that line means, but it's essentially your line in the sand or your line in the dirt that says, you know what, I just can't do it. So it's very tough to. I'm still banging around that. I'm still banging that around in my head.
You never know.
Because
it could
I
happen.
stand for something.
Yeah.
And I'll use a great a friend of mine said the best. I know what I stand for, and I know what I stand against. And I think the reason why everybody here in this room gets along so well is everybody knows where everybody stands at any given time.
Right.
And then if, God forbid, it's a surprise, it comes from a level of respect. If you have a different view than me, then pertaining to any situation, you're not going to say, well, you're wrong and I'm right.
No, it's communication.
Correct.
Yeah, 100%.
And just going, you know what? I think we're just going to have to respect the fact that we're in different positions,
Yeah.
and that's what makes America great.
Well, you just triggered some people out there. You
Well-
said a key phrase. No.
Well, yeah. Well, as a millennial, I can say that.
Yeah,
and,
right.
You know what?
Well, I think
all my millennials out there.
it goes back to what you were saying. You have, you're conservative, but leaning a little to the right. It goes back to that liberal mindset of, I respect your views, and therefore you should respect mine, and together we can agree to disagree. But once it crosses that line of, you can't say that, or I'm afraid to say something, that's where we're losing
You're
people.
infringing on everybody's rights.
We're
at that point.
losing a mass majority of the people in this country is because we're forgetting that you get mad or triggered about what somebody said. You got to remember they have a right to say that. So
Right.
everyone needs to just go back to basics.
Exactly. You look at it from a logical perspective. You have a shotgun, or a double, over-under shotgun right behind you.
Right.
That is an inanimate object.
Right.
That is just the same thing as having a pen and paper on that.
Yeah.
And it's
For
like
those that
saying-
don't know, an inanimate object, if you punch it, it's not going to scream. That's the best way I
And it doesn't
explain
animate. It
Yeah.
doesn't animate on its own. It has to have
Exactly.
user interface.
Right.
User interface from
Yeah.
a user, such as typically a person.
Perfect.
So that's an inanimate object. Same thing as a pen. And this is the thing I tell people. They're like, "Well, guns kill people."
They were
I'm like,
made to kill people.
Correct.
That's
They are
my
a tool.
favorite, Yeah.
And they are a tool.
Yeah, so
I
is
said-
a hammer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I say this. You have a book like Mein Kampf, a disgusting, in my opinion, an absolute disgusting publication that was written by an evil man, Adolf Hitler.
Right.
That was responsible for the Holocaust. That literally destroyed this world, and destroyed Europe. And then you have the Holy Bible. And I'm not getting religious, but it's the most printed book in the world.
Also the number
And
one most
Quran-
stolen book.
Correct. Thank you, Gideon.
Yeah.
Hotels.
Yeah,
Hotels.
right.
So you look at these two books, and they say different messages, and I'm not going to get on the whole soapbox of the Holy Bible is responsible for Holocaust as well, but the messages are different, but yet they're written by either pen, pencil, and paper, typewriter. So do we condemn the printing press? Do we condemn the typewriter? Do we condemn the writing instrument?
Yeah.
For the authors.
Yeah. Oh,
Actions
I don't
and
disagree
beliefs.
with you. And the best one that Robbie has said for years was the Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel with a rock. You can outlaw rocks. Like,
Right.
And outlaw everything.
yeah.
London did it. London did it the best, Robbie. I mean, you look at a case study like London, where they outlawed firearms,
Right.
and yes, shootings go down.
And stabbings went
Stabbings went through the roof,
And-
and then the London mayor now is outlawing knives, and now they're going to hydrochloric acid, walking around with buckets of hydrochloric acid, and they're throwing them on people's faces.
Oh,
That's crazy. They did the same thing in Australia too, and then
Yep.
immediately when they did the buyback, because they did like a buyback program,
right.
Mhm.
like they said they would want to do here.
Like Beto,
But
Yeah. Don't call him that.
Yeah.
That's not.
whatever his name is.
You don't, dude.
It's a
CNN
label.
spinning that so bad
It's a
as
label.
for a Hispanic vote. It's driving me fucking.
You mean the
Oh,
burglar?
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm going to call him burglar because
Burglar,
that's exactly what I
yeah.
get arrested for.
Yeah.
In
DUI,
97.
wasn't it?
DUI and burglary.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it was both?
Yeah.
It was both, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. It's that fucking guy.
So, anyways, what were you saying? The
Oh,
buyback.
Oh,
The buyback.
So, yeah, in Australia, when they did the buybacks, immediately home invasions went like...
Screw the
It was
roof.
like,
Yeah.
hey, there's nothing...
Nobody's gonna stop us.
stop me.
Correct.
Yeah.
I got a
Correct.
machete, you're in bed asleep.
Let's talk about Chicago.
I knew that was going up.
That's my hometown,
Strictest
actually.
gun laws in the nation,
Yeah.
Some of them, yep, absolutely.
right?
Yep.
That and New York are probably pretty much parallel, like
Close.
with each other.
I would say I
Where
don't
else
know
is
if
more
their
strict?
homicide rate is as high for whatever.
No, New
reason.
York definitely isn't as high as
No.
Chicago.
Yeah, I don't know
but,
why it's so
but
different
as
there,
as
but-
for gun laws, though, they're pretty parallel. Right?
New York has a 7-round, has a 7-round magazine
And
law.
you can't
in
carry
Chicago.
within city limits.
Oh no,
'cause-
absolutely not. You can't
Yeah,
carry
that's
in Manhattan.
Chicago's
You
law.
can't carry in New York.
Okay.
Forget it. You're not carrying.
So during the class,
Or DC,
you
same
had
thing
told
in
a
DC.
story about New York and a gun situation, and I was thinking of a different story. There was actually a girl whose father had an antique pistol. During a home invasion, the person charged her. She knew where the antique pistol was, had no rounds loaded. She pulled the antique pistol out and pointed at the guy. The guy ran and left.
Wow.
Called the cops on her. They came and had her arrested for having the gun in city limits.
That's disgusting. I'm sorry. That's just disgusting.
Like,
That's just
it
disgusting.
baffles my mind.
Yeah.
Like, she protected herself with pretty much a fucking paperweight.
Yeah, she
Right? Like-
she had a bluff.
Yeah.
The guy and the guy didn't call her bluff.
No. But called the cops on her for having a pistol, and she was arrested.
That's some balls right there.
Isn't it bananas?
It's crazy. It's just like the people who have like a grow house and they get they get
Yeah.
burglarized
They-
and they
So
steal
you
all
had
their
told
stuff.
you had told the story about her not making it to the furthest part, and that you want to tell the story real
So
quick?
yeah, I'll tell the story. I don't remember what city it was in. I want to say in.
I think it was Jersey, wasn't it?
Was it Jersey?
I believe.
So, because
Yeah, I think it was.
in our CCW class, we talk about the castle doctrine and stand your ground, and it's so I love Arizona. Again, coming from Chicago, where you're taught, guns are bad, you can't have them in city limits, and nobody knows why, and you forget about the Second Amendment, you forget about your right to protect yourself. But coming out to Arizona, we're hearing all these stories now about people who, well, I think going back to that New Jersey story, there was a female, she was in her house, she was being attacked, and I think she fought back. She was going through the house and she fought back, and I think she was in a hallway or she was approaching maybe outside the bedroom. And when later on, and again, I don't remember all the details, but later on it all comes out that she was getting hemmed up because she didn't go to the furthest part of the house.
She didn't retreat.
She didn't retreat to the furthest part of the house, which
You wanna
I'm
try the
assuming.
tango?
Yes.
You want to try the tango?
What's tango?
Tango is our blend.
Ooh, okay.
It's a blend.
I will never
Very-
turn down whiskey.
Very little. You don't want a lot of this. I just-
As Robbie's laughing, Why is Robbie laughing?
The last person that tried this ended up puking all over my restroom.
Uh-oh, well, be careful.
Drunk. Out of his mind drunk. But
Well, that
This
was
is-
a long day.
that was a long day.
That was
You're
a lot of-
good.
And a lot of whiskey tangos?
Yes.
A lot of tangos.
Okay.
Yeah. He had a 16-ounce cup of that whiskey.
And he was puking?
He concussed himself in my restroom, and he had to go to the hospital the next day. How's that taste?
Whoa.
Isn't that good?
That is like smooth.
All right. Yeah.
It is. It's literally
You'll never believe what that is.
all the bite is gone.
Mhm.
It stays on the palate very warm,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no fire.
You'll never believe what that is.
Are you gonna? Should,
You want to guess?
do I have to sign a non-disclosure agreement?
That's
Secrets?
a good idea.
That's dangerous. That's what that is.
Okay.
No, the tango is literally every remnants of every whiskey we've ever had on this show. So if it's the last bit of a whiskey in a bottle, we pour it in there.
What?
Swear. That's got
Smooth.
probably 20 different whiskeys in there. Yes.
That sounds like a brand idea.
And it is delicious.
It is.
not?
It
I
is.
like it.
It's yeah.
We should have done
Yeah.
some measuring if we would have known it was going to be that good. We would
Yeah.
have measured it
Because you
out.
can't
Create that
duplicate
master.
it now.
Yeah.
That
Yes, right.
master
So
cask.
let me tell you about this though. You take the top off of that thing and sniff, your sinuses are clear for a week.
Fuego.
It is, but you smell it and it's like, okay, that's peeling paint off my car, but you drink it and it's so smooth.
Well, I've never tasted gasoline, so this could be
Right?
It
Yeah.
can't be worse than that.
So yeah, we'll get back to it though. Real quick, let's talk scenarios, okay? We brought up the castle rule, okay? And this was another part of the class that I really enjoyed because we discussed that different areas across the U.S. and you guys can really only speak on Arizona law because that's what you're familiar with and that's where you teach your classes out of.
Yes.
But the misconception about the castle rule, like in Texas, you have the right to protect your house. And if your neighbor's on vacation, they could say, watch my house. And through that castle rule, you can shoot and apprehend somebody on your neighbor's property if you were to see them breaking into the house.
Okay.
Okay, the misconception is burglar comes into the house. They're not a direct harm or threat to you, but they're there for your TV. Now, you tell them that they need to leave. They continue to proceed forward. They have nothing in their hands. They're literally just walking to try to get your TV. I can shoot them, right?
Just to grab your TV.
Yep.
No, you're not gonna. That's gonna be very difficult to articulate in the state of Arizona.
See,
And you're.
this-
I'm gonna trigger.
and-
I'm gonna trigger the crap
no,
out of people.
but see, when I took your class,
Oh, I saw you in the back.
when I took your class, I'm listening to this and I'm wanting to just scream, no, that's not how this works.
You had a lot of cognitive dissonance there.
I was
That's
so
okay.
upset.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm glad we brought it, like, to the attention of the three of us. You guys brought it to the attention of the three of us. So explain to the listeners how this works.
So, the thing is, the fact of the matter is, in the state of Arizona, you have the right to threaten deadly physical force if somebody's in your home or where you're allowed to be, specifically your home. When we have to use deadly physical force is when is only when we can articulate that there's either serious bodily injury and or death that is either about to happen or is happening. When we talk about the whole difference between imminent and immediate. But we have to articulate that threat is actually happening to us or another because to defend, if something's happening to you or something's happening to myself, the self-defense laws are exactly the same. But we have to articulate that based on the totality of the circumstances. And if somebody's trying to steal your TV and walk out with your TV, you can't articulate that they're gonna kill you. Now, if we always get that question, what if they come towards you and raise the TV over their head and they're gonna smash you? I'm like, well, then
Okay.
you have to paint that picture.
Right.
That's different, but
Okay,
we're going down rabbit holes.
Day and age of cell phones.
Okay.
Okay? You're an intruder. I'm a homeowner. You come through the front door. My
Dumbest
dog,
dude ever.
My dog,
Dumbest dude ever.
my dogs alert me, right? I get up, I grab the 380 that I have next to my nightstand. Okay, we meet at each end of the hall.
That's a very small gun for a very big dude.
It's my wife's.
Okay.
I have an I have an AR-15.
I'm not judging you.
Okay,
I
you
have an
grabbed the little
AR-15.
guy.
Yeah.
The little
He's
guy.
got the noisy
You got
cricket in his hand.
Right, yeah. So, grab the 380, we meet at the hallway. At this point, we're in the day and age of cell phone. I have a cell phone. I'm telling you, with my cell phone recording, you are being recorded. If you continue to make steps towards me, I will continue to take that as a threat. You need to turn around and leave, or I will open fire. Person steps forward, I warn again. Steps forward again, I shoot. Am I liable at that point?
Well, you're always liable, so understand that.
Okay.
So you used a word pertaining, and I'm not an attorney, so we're not going to get into this whole
Perfect.
this whole thing. We
Good.
are not.
I like
I'm not
that.
a.
I like that.
I am not. So when they come to our class, we're not bar certified attorneys.
And that's what
And-
people need to hear.
Exactly. So when we talk about legal advice, all we do is teach the law, and then we teach the objective reasonable standard, which is based on a U.S. Supreme Court case law. But what you are always liable for every round and everything you do, everything you say, everything you do in your life, you're always liable for it, because that's a civil law term. But when we're talking about, I'm guessing you're asking is, are you justified? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
asking?
yeah.
With pertaining to that is,
That's a better word.
yeah. So I just wanted to make sure it was, yes, you're liable for that, but whether you're going to be successfully sued, we always tell people, you shouldn't be afraid of being sued. Now, can it be a life-changing event? Absolutely. But you should truly be afraid of being successfully sued. You're getting a judgment against you and your house being taken and stuff like that. But with pertaining to justification, you want to paint that picture. We talked about it in the class, and I used Bob Ross as an example.
Yeah.
Bob Ross smoked a lot of weed. He smoked a lot of weed, and he did his paintings, and he painted pretty little trees and happy little birds. And the first couple layers with his oil painting on his canvas, you're like, dude, Bob smoked too much weed.
That looks like shit.
It looks like shit.
Yeah.
This is gonna be bad, Bob.
Right.
But then Bob just tells you, stick with me. Smoke a blunt and stick with me.
Yeah, eat some shrooms.
Yeah, whatever. But he's talking about stick with me and through the program, and then magically as he starts adding more layers, you're like, that's a mountain scene with birds, and then you start seeing that.
Yeah, can we camp there?
Correct, exactly. But there's many layers to that painting, and just like there's many layers to a justification of use of force. So, the question would be is, what time of day did this occur? What time of day was this occurring? Have you been burglarized before? Have you? Did he have a weapon? Did he not have a weapon? Was he saying anything? Was he not saying anything? What were you saying? Well, we already established what you were saying, and that's a beautiful thing you said, because you're very calm, you're very collected, you're very articulate through the whole thing, and you've visualized and you've worked through this scenario. And so if God forbid it happens, yes, you're going to be your heart's going to be elevated. All of these things are going to be happening, but you've already been through here.
Yeah.
But
I've shot people before, so.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and again, it's you've been there, you've done that, you got that T-shirt, and I wouldn't say it's helpful, but it gives you that experience.
Right.
And so through your training experiences, that's how you paint that picture and get that justification on a prima facie or face value. Yeah, I mean you're in your own home. He's not complying with your orders. He's walking towards you. He sees a firearm. You've told him, hey, if you take another step, you will be shot. It definitely looks. I wouldn't say good. I don't want to say shooting somebody ever looks good, but the more layers you have on that, the better. And I can't say yes, you're justified in shooting that person, or no. There's so many different factors, and that's what at times can frustrate people when we talk to them, because you just asked a very simple question. And how long has my answer been?
But it's
ridiculously long.
But it's the truth.
It is.
There's no correct scenario.
There is none, and that's the thing.
And again, it goes back to your roots of being able to protect yourself and your family.
Karen.
At what point do you have to?
Karen, I'm just average
Right.
Joe. Should I drill? Should I practice this?
Of course.
Okay, but why? Tell the listeners why I should drill and practice these scenarios.
So from my air marshal training, they used to tell us all the time, your body won't go where your mind has never been.
Thank you. Here we go.
So, even if you read a few books and go through scenarios in your own head, or talk to your spouse about, your significant other about, what would we do if someone comes in the house, walk it through. Just like when we were kids, they had, in Chicago, they had like the tornado drills. They would do the fire alarm and we'd hide under our desks and stuff, or fire drills. So what would you do if? It's the same thing. You're just preparing for in case it happens and you're both on the same page. Now, is it going to be perfect scenario? No, but at least you're giving yourself, a little bit of an edge, or a step in the right direction in case something does happen or danger does come into your home. You don't have to sit there and wait for the guy or girl to make a move. You can set those boundaries, and if they fail, if someone comes in your house and they're stupid enough to look at you square in your face with a gun pointed at them and they keep coming at you, I don't want to sound insensitive, but we say it all the time. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And it's not to, make fun of it or make it sound, simplistic or insensitive.
But it is simplistic.
It is what it is. We have a right to protect ourselves and
Yeah.
our families, and that's all it comes down to. We're not trying to be crazy renegades. It's going back to basics and refusing to be a victim.
Yeah, I call it that reluctant warrior.
And what I was
reluctant warrior.
what I was about to say is it's primal fear.
Yes.
And that's where I feel like courts lose certain things. Everybody has that fear. And if you can train and you can be clear and concise with what you're saying in that moment and control that fear and still execute when you need to be, not execute the person.
No,
Let's be
yeah.
clear. But execute.
Perform.
And perform what you're doing, then that is where you're going to protect yourself.
You're right.
Well,
Right?
You're right.
Yeah, one of the examples I use in class, and again, I think as a whole, right, society now, watching social media or watching media, watching the news and being on social media, we're in fear of reacting. Let's take any animal that's out in the wild. Let's just take a cat, right?
Yeah.
You put a cat in a corner and you bring a big dog into the room. What's the cat gonna do if the dog goes after it? It's gonna hiss, it's gonna lift its back up, it's gonna claw at the dog, right?
Right.
Do we have to teach a cat to do that?
Not at all.
No, but is someone telling the cat, listen, you can't do that because the dog will get very offended?
Nope.
So we're animals, we should be able to react in the way that we need to react. Now, again, we're intelligent human beings and we need to justify it.
that's
Most of us.
Relative.
Relative.
Intelligence
But
is relative.
again,
Yeah.
it all comes down to
Common sense is few and far between.
Yeah, and I just feel like, back in the day, Aristotle and all the philosophers and astronomers and, all the stuff that they discovered way back before we were here. Because I look at it in like 100-year increments, right? We're not going to be here forever. We're only here, let's just average it. We're all
Yeah.
here for 100 years. There's only so much we can do. We can't change the laws that much. And if we do, and then our kids and the kids' kids are going to have to deal with it. I just feel like there's only so much we can do. Why don't we just go back to basics and say, look, you have a right to protect yourself. Let's just give people that right to do that. Guns are here. They're not going away. They're not going to do a big, collection and
Yeah.
they're all going to be gone. It's just like
Yeah.
drugs. I don't want to get on that whole soapbox, but, heroin is illegal, but it's rampant
Yeah.
on our streets and
Well,
in our schools.
When
And so
I had Lamb on, that was a discussion I had with him. And I told
What an
Lamb,
amazing individual.
Yeah.
He's
I
amazing.
told Lamb, I said, dude, if you legalize drugs, you take the money from the cartel. Like,
So I'll flip you on that one.
okay, but here's
Go ahead.
Hear it out, because I don't know if you listened to that whole podcast or not.
Yeah.
I said, you open a hotel that gives doctor-assisted, medicated drugs. Why? Well, because your junkies are going to do it regardless.
Sure.
But now you're giving them a safe haven place to do it, right? And through that, we're already paying public funds to get these people off of it. Why not pay for them to stay on it, let them ruin their life if they need to? Like, you're going to make that choice, or they're going to make that choice regardless.
Okay.
I want them to make that choice away from my 6-year-old daughter. I don't
Rightfully
want a
so.
needle at the park.
Yeah.
I don't want to find my daughter pick up a meth pipe.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, you're right.
So if you were to legalize it and push it to a place where they
safe haven.
a safe haven,
Yeah.
and where they're medically
Supervised.
supervised, that to me makes more sense.
Okay.
Now you don't have cartel wars. I mean, there's going to be wars regardless. I mean, fuck, they're trying to have wars over avocados right now, right? But you're lessening the blow.
Yes.
So that's my take on it. But go ahead and flip me upside down.
So I completely agree with safeguarding your child away from that. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
That's 100%. But the whole cartel thing, working in law enforcement and being a member of many professional associations that I've actually been taught by cartel members. But the flip side is, if we say we legalize every controlled substance that is known to us at this point, if we, and again, I'm not going to create a satire to it, but if tomorrow they deem Crayola crayons illegal,
Yeah.
they're going to be in the Crayola crayon business.
Right.
If they illegalize, like for example, I made the joke when I was in the military, if you have an amputated leg or a headache, you get what?
Ibuprofen.
800 milligram ibuprofen,
yeah.
vitamin M, right?
Yeah.
When I left the military, I had so much vitamin M that I was like the Pablo Escobar
Yeah,
of
right.
ibuprofen.
Right.
I could kill so many stomachs and so many intestines, it was
Yeah.
just beyond belief.
Right.
I could have killed probably everybody's intestines in the United States. But if they illegalized ibuprofen tomorrow,
Yeah.
and people needed it, they will always provide supply to an illicit demand. So that illicit demand is whatever the product is.
Right.
If it's French fries, or you know what, if they went to the New York model of the 32 ounce super gulp.
Yeah.
Because New York, you can't have the big gulps.
Pick your battles,
Right.
people.
They're-
Jesus Christ.
They illegalized high capacity drinking devices. Drinking
High
devices.
capacity.
Drinking
Yes,
devices.
yeah.
You can drink upwards of 32
Those
ounces
automatic-
per second.
Yeah.
Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Big gulps.
Right. The automatic straw dispensers are
Yeah.
a problem in
Oh,
California.
Be careful.
30
We'll
caliber
talk about the
clips.
straws
30
now.
caliber clips.
No, we shit on California every podcast. Feel free. Fuck California. We shit. And I don't care if we have listeners out there. If your state is so great, everybody that moved to fucking Arizona should go back.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
Don't.
Well, they're pardoning
California,
they're pardoning
my
murderers
Arizona.
by the minute.
I don't-
The governor's pardoning
It's-
murderers by
yeah.
the minute, commuting sentences. But if there is an illegal substance or product that has an illicit demand, they will always be in that business. And so, from a business standpoint, the cartels will always be in business, no matter what.
Because there's always going to be something.
Correct.
Yes.
There's always going to be something from a purely business standpoint. And this is where understanding and law enforcement understanding your competition, you're the criminal, that they're always going to be in business.
Yeah.
And so, like, when we talk about guns, legislating the gun, no, you can't legislate evil. I mean, I'm glad murder is actually illegal.
See, and
I'm glad heroin's illegal.
Here's-
because nobody would do it, right?
here's my other take
Right.
on it from a personal experience too. I brought up my kid. Okay.
Sure.
My kid is never going to be as street savvy as I was. I won't allow it.
Sure.
The shit I dealt with as a kid will never be put on my daughter.
You're trying to insulate that as much as you possibly
Right.
can.
And I look at what I figured out at a young age on my own, dealing with, a single mother that raised 3 boys,
Wow.
worked 3 jobs at one point in time. I was a wild fucking kid.
You still are. That hasn't changed.
Right, I was wild though. But I had common sense. And I'll say this, and we talked about it, it's few and far between. Today's youth does not have common sense. They idolize shit they see in new rap videos, lean, cough syrup,
Yeah.
bullshit, whatever it may be, right?
Robo-Trip and DX.
Yeah, right. So I'll give a scenario that happened to me at a young age. Go to this girl's house, 6th grade. Okay.
So you're like 10,
12.
12, 12?
12.
Yeah, about 11, 12, yeah.
Okay.
6th grade. Her name's Crystal, and which is kind of funny because when you hear the story, it's going to be like, oh, of course her name was Crystal, right?
I know, you know where it's going.
Yeah. So go over there. She's in 6th grade with me. These 2 guys, older gentlemen, 17, 18 years old, show up to the house. They sit on the couch, give me a little noogie kind of, hey, who's this guy? Chris, oh, that's my friend from school, right? Oh, is he cool? Yeah, he's cool, don't worry about him, right? Next thing you know, they pull out a fucking meth pipe, throw a fucking rock in, and they start lighting up right in front of me. Oh, hey, where's your bathroom, Crystal? I gotta piss. Oh, down the hall to the left. I crawled out a fucking 2 foot by 1 foot bathroom window and ran the fuck home.
Thank God.
That's the kind of shit I dealt with in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Had that been in a fucking safe haven place where these people could have done it, I might not have ever had
Experience
to
that.
see or deal with something like that at a young age.
Valid point. Valid point there. Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Again, differences of opinion. See, and you know what? Just to say it, that's what makes America great.
Right.
We have differences of opinion.
Right.
But I can totally see it.
Right.
From a logical standpoint, the way you explain
But had
it.
I not had common sense, hey, what are you guys doing? Or wanting to be that cool kid? Mm-hmm. And had I stayed there, what do you think they would have pressured me to do?
You'd be a meth addict.
Right.
Yeah. And you wouldn't be as big as you are now.
By no means. And I wouldn't have all my teeth.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Well, it's
No.
almost like they want to control every situation too, you know? Because I have similar stories growing up on the south side of Chicago. The older guys doing drugs, and, you know, it just petrified me.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then now we have our 6-year-old. I'm going to do everything I can, just like you said about your daughter. I'm going to make sure she's completely shielded because there's just so much crazy stuff out there. But
there,
are we doing the same thing that the government's doing?
No. No, but you say shielded, but you say shielded in the correct sense. You're not coddling.
No.
You're not. You're
Absolutely
teaching
not.
your daughter the world is a dark place.
Yes.
You need to be prepared, and we're going to prepare you.
Yep.
How are you doing that? What do you do for your daughter? Let's talk about that.
So, great question.
Let's not mention her name. We don't. Need
No,
that.
no, that's okay. So great question. So Karen and I are engaged. That's a no secret.
Right.
We're gonna be married here in a couple months, and that's the other thing with Guardian. That and you know, just to digress for a minute, but that's what the other thing about Guardian
Family
that's
and
different.
community. I told
Correct.
you from the start.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so like her and I, you know, we're engaged. I have a daughter, and we're a family, and so that's the other thing is that I guess makes us a little different is her and I, both of our experiences are independent of each other. Nothing of what Karen knows, well, some of the things she knows because she learns from the best. But I heard that.
How to
over there,
shoot.
Robbie. I heard that. Anyways,
When we go
so
to the range.
yeah. Anyways,
Keep it PG. Keep
so
it PG.
no, it is PG.
Stick with me, kid. I'll show you some stuff.
Okay. but the fact of the matter is, all of her experience is independent of mine, and mine's independent
Before
of
this
hers.
started, she told me her shot group was tighter than yours.
I-
I'm just
okay,
saying.
I'll own that. I'll own that. And
She never said that. I just you just doubted yourself.
You know what?
No.
You see how this works?
Yeah,
Hey,
you're good.
Honestly, one of the reasons I was attracted to him so much is because it didn't bother him.
Yeah.
He took it and he was like, okay.
She used her
Yeah.
air marshal training on me,
That's
and
great.
she when the first time we shot, I'm like, okay, who's this chick?
He's a good sport
And
about
then
it, which is good.
she drilled 5 rounds right on top of each other. After I had a larger ragged hole, she had a very,
Tight-knit
group.
Yeah.
And at first, I was like, damn, that hurts. My man card just got punched.
Hold on though. Did she do it sideways like a gangster?
No.
Okay, well then it doesn't count.
No, she's not
Doesn't
West
count.
Coast, she's Midwest. No, she's Midwest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she again, so I looked at it as, oh, my man card just got punched, but then I realized, like, that's kind of hot.
Yeah.
And when we go to the range, it's amazing. We digress a little bit, but it's amazing taking Karen, I don't want to say taking her to the range, but when we go to the range, the stereotypes are just so pervasive.
Yeah.
In this community where they look at, I carry the bags because I'm a gentleman. I'm carrying the bags, drop everything, she lets me shoot. That's a big thing. She lets me shoot first.
Yeah.
She doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't shoot first because she lets me shoot first.
Yeah.
And then, guys see that, and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then when she steps up, they're like, oh, he brought his cute little girlfriend to the range.
Right.
And so she locks and loads, and I step
She's
back.
out there fucking John Wicking it.
Because I know what's about to happen. I step step back, like that whole meme with Michael Jackson eating the popcorn.
Yeah,
I'm that guy that's eating the popcorn. Watch the show.
Yeah.
And she cranks rounds right on top of each other, and you usually see like at least one jaw drop, and then there's always at least one guy that comes up to me and go, "Don't mess with her." I'm like, and she's like, "Wow, that's awesome that you bring your girlfriend." And I'm like, "No, that's she takes me to the range."
Yeah.
As you can tell, like I'm with her. She's not with me.
Guys are coming up to her going, "It's nice you brought your girlfriend to the ring." Let's arm wrestle. No.
Do it.
Oh, that's great.
I have to go to work eventually. I'm take my arm off and then.
No, that's good.
But no, so we were talking about raising kiddos. We were
Yes.
talking about raising kiddos after the horrible tweaker digression.
Yeah, right.
But raising your kiddos, we take it very seriously.
How do you train your daughter for this?
So
This is
like,
what-
yeah, it's a great question. So it was great. One of the first times. So we believe in, from a firearm safety perspective, we believe in gun-proofing our children and not child-proofing our guns. So
Explain for the ones that didn't understand that.
we gun-proof our children and not child-proof our guns. So with regards to my daughter, I have guns locked up, and then my home defense guns are not locked up. And now this is for a parent. That's a personal decision. We guide our parents, and based on our philosophies. So the best way of explaining it is we're a GPS. Guardian hopefully is a GPS for somebody's life. We don't. So if you're driving down the road and you're trying to get to your destination, the GPS will tell you the most direct route, not the shortest route. You can pick the shortest route, but typically the shortest time frame route, based on their algorithms and their experience and their training of knowing how traffic patterns go. Our job is to be that GPS. Who drives the car? If you decide to go down the next block and it says recalculating, and you decide to go to the next block and turn, whose decision is that? The driver's. It's the student's job. It's the student's responsibility to drive the car. We just provide the GPS. So with that caveat in place, this is what we believe as the best model, which prevents children getting shot with negligent discharges. Picking up in amazement a loaded firearm, dad's gun. And it comes back to, that first one is respecting property. Like, that shotgun is your property. It's yours, or your wife's, or whatever the case may be. You may have to ask permission to touch your wife's guns. But it's a respect of property, that's number one. And then the second one is respecting that it's a dangerous item. And with that dangerous item comes training to do that. Now, your daughter and my daughter is very similar. They're the same age.
Right.
6 years old.
Both giants.
Giants.
Right. It's weird.
It's weird. So, but the fact of the matter is, they're 6 years old. They still have. So when people always ask us, what's the earliest age I can get my son or daughter into firearms? That's a you decision. I don't want to say trump because that could trigger. I will never usurp a parent's decision to teach their children. It's the maturity and the cognitive level is their decision. But my daughter can spout off the first firearm safety rule, and I do it almost every class.
Right.
Hey, what's the first firearm safety rule? And in front of 20-some people, she spouts it off. And I'm like, that's training. She wasn't born that way. So do I have guns around the house that are unsecured and they're fully loaded? Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always a balancing point between accessibility and security.
Right.
Because if it's super secure, it's not accessible.
Right.
And if it's super accessible, it's not secure. There
Yeah.
has to be that, moderation.
Now, here's where I'm going to throw a wrench in a lot of people's ears that
Okay.
are listening. Even if they are accessible, right, what you're saying is training. That's fine. Even if they're not accessible, you still need to train your fucking kids how to use guns.
True.
Why?
So why?
Because
Yeah.
what if it becomes accessible?
Absolutely. It's a reality.
Yes.
Can you make a mistake?
And that's where people make the mistake. Oh, it's secure. I don't need to teach my kid. No.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
or we have the
Like,
students,
that's a problem.
Or we have the students that want to carry a gun, and there's like 3 different safeties, flip safeties, push button safeties. Well, this gun is inherently more safer than the gun that doesn't
Or
have
like the Weiss 380 has zero safety.
safeties. Like my Glock that I carry.
Yes,
Well, at first glance, people are like, well, where's the flip safety at? I'm like, there is none.
none.
It is
is
a legitimate
ready
point
to
shoot,
go.
a legitimate point shoot gun. Now
Yes.
there's all these passive safeties, but you still have to be able to press the trigger for the gun to go off, no matter what. It's still an inanimate object. But the fact of the matter is, you can't keep all of your guns secure all of the time.
No.
What happens if they go to a friend's house? That's a reality. So do I have guns that are not locked up? Absolutely. I have to keep them accessible to protect my family. But my daughter also knows that if she wants to touch our property, whether it's Karen's gun or my gun, she asks first, and all she has to do is ask. So, Daddy, can I touch one of your guns? Absolutely. So, under supervision of myself, I will properly unload it. And again, we always treat all firearms as they're loaded, but I'll properly unload it, and then we go through it. And I let her handle my firearm in a safe manner. We just got a shipment of SIRT pistols, the red and black laser pistols. She has her own SIRT pistol now. So if she wants to,
She's training with it.
she's training with it.
Good.
So we're working on trigger control. We're working on all that. And people are like, "Are you out of your mind?"
No.
I'm like, no, I don't believe so.
I don't either.
I don't believe so.
I
And
don't
it's a
either.
completely safe environment. And she knows that gun gets treated just like a real firearm, but there's also safety factors in place that also, from an adult standpoint, I know this gun is not real. Okay? But she's going to treat it like it's a real gun.
Needs to.
Yes, absolutely. That's the expectation. But it's amazing when my daughter interacts with other kids, and she's very mature for her age. She interacts with other kids. I see the difference. That that firearm safety doesn't just relate to firearm safety. There's a discipline factor that transcends into every aspect of her life.
Right.
And so she knows that all she has to do is ask. Now, people ask us, well, what happens when she's a teenager and kids come over to the house? That's when it changes.
Yeah.
That's when the unsecured guns
yeah.
now become secured. And that's a reality that I have to deal with. Because I can control what my daughter does through raising her, in my opinion, properly. But I can't control what these other kids do. And I will not allow another person's child to gain access to my firearms
Right.
and hurt themselves or hurt my daughter or hurt somebody else, because you are liable for that.
So-
100%.
Quick morbid story that I remember as a kid. And I actually went to junior high with this family, and my brother went to high school with this family. I won't name names for obvious reasons, but late 1980s, early 1990s, Nintendo Duck Hunt,
Oh my gosh.
right?
Okay.
Kids are playing.
I love that game.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, right?
I wanted to shoot that dog every time.
The dog.
I wanted to shoot
yeah.
that. I'm sorry.
And you pointed the gun at the dog every time and tried to shoot, and it didn't.
Because he's laughing at you.
Yeah, right. But no, just a situation where player one and player two was middle brother and older brother. Younger brothers in the group. Mom and dad aren't home. Little brother goes to the bathroom, comes back. Older brother's sitting there, hole in his chest, dead.
Oh my
Player
gosh.
one was older brother. Player two was middle brother. Older brother beat middle-aged brother. Middle-aged brother said, "Oh yeah, I'll show you." Went and got the gun to play with it. Accidentally shot older brother in the chest to death. It was all in the papers.
Oh my
and
gosh.
it tore the family apart.
To be expected.
Mom and dad got a divorce. Younger brother, who I went to junior high with, severe trauma.
Oh yeah.
The brother that actually pulled the trigger by accident and killed
Brother.
older brother, don't even know what happened. Don't even know where that kid
Probably
went.
fell off the face of the earth.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I have no clue. My brother never saw him at high school again.
Wow.
Never. So I don't know if they charged him. I don't know if they sent him to like a boarding school. Nothing. But that situation right there, had they been properly trained
Yeah.
and or the gun been secure because they weren't properly
Sure.
trained, would have never happened.
And of course that changes, because if you have a child with mental illness and mental illness is becoming a big factor now.
Yeah.
That's so.
That's another podcast.
Oh no, yeah.
That's another podcast.
But I'm talking about severe mental illness.
Yes, I don't disagree.
I think you know where we're going is the diagnosis of ADHD and the autism.
It's fucking bananas.
Yes, but I'm talking about severe mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to reevaluate.
Yeah.
That obviously our mode of thinking, the way we raise our daughter, that probably can't happen because of the reality that you have a severely mentally ill child,
right?
Or there's a cognitive, disability.
Or
That's
the fact
different.
that they pump these kids full of fucking psychotropics to begin with.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And then want to pull them off of it.
Oh yeah,
and wonder why they're dysfunctional.
And I've seen that in my career that you see the laundry list of Schedule 2, Schedule 3 drugs, and I'm like,
yeah,
holy, because like when I explain to a parent when I've taken a forensic pharmacology classes because of my job.
Really,
understanding
that's
drugs.
interesting.
So like understanding how drugs work and how they affect the body.
Dude, that is interesting.
When I look at Ritalin, that is laboratory grade methamphetamine.
Yes, it is.
It's laboratory grade.
Yes,
you look at oxycodone, hydrocodone,
heroin.
Is laboratory grade heroin.
Yes.
Desomorphine is heroin, and oxycodone or oxycontin, all of that is the laboratory grade.
Yeah. What's the one that this? So I worked with kids for 7 years.
Sure. Yeah.
At a
troubled youth.
Yeah, troubled
Yes.
youth. But the tramadol.
So tramadol,
dude,
is a non-narcotic painkiller.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Dude, would put this kid to
death
sleep.
Yeah.
I would have to carry him
Yeah.
back to the cottage to put him to bed.
Oh yeah. They'll be on the nod. They'll be sleepy, but it's non-narcotic. But
what about Seroquel? Don't mean to go off.
Seroquel is a mood stabilizer.
Yeah. So they were pumping this kid from Nebraska with 900 milligrams of Seroquel in the morning.
Zombie.
Yeah.
Zombie.
They took him off.
Lost his mind, didn't he?
Went bananas.
Yeah.
We had to restrain him for 4.5 hours after he tried to murder himself.
Because
Yeah.
they've seen the studies, and again, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I'm not a pharmacologist. I'm not a pharmacist.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, they've seen that and through the studies, they truly changed the electric makeup
you're
and the
changing
components of your brain.
The hormonal compounds
Correct.
as
Everything.
well. Yeah.
Every aspect of your brain, it is changing
Yeah.
forever.
With your frontal lobe not being completely fucking developed till you're
Correct.
22, 23 anyway.
Correct. And you look at
Do you want some more creek water?
Maybe just a splash.
Look. Oh yeah.
but no,
Feel
so
free.
it's changing everybody's. It's changing.
Or do you want tango?
Go to the
Okay.
creek. So,
Splash, I'm good. That's good. Thanks.
but you look at like meth-induced psychosis.
Right.
Every spark plug in that meth addict's brain has fired, and then because it's fired, you look at that brain now, you look at that person, and it's just a black hole,
Oh yeah.
just
Yeah.
a black hole,
Yeah.
and you're like, holy cannoli. Anyway, so about the kiddos, so that changes the game, that, but then also my daughter. So I already have a pact with my daughter, and she understands that if she goes to a friend's house, can I control what the parents do with their guns in their home?
No.
Zero. I have zero influence on that. I can ask them whether they do it or not. That's not up to me. Obviously, I have control over where my daughter goes. Of course, that's another factor. But as she's a teenager, you lose control of your child, but you just hope that all of the control that you've put on them and the discipline, that then osmosis into their way they're living, and they make good decisions going forward.
Right.
Because I deal with that all the time in my law enforcement career. The 33-year-old out of control son out of control at home. Excuse me?
33.
33 years old, drug addict, still living at home.
Right.
Still living at home, and now they want to kick him out. Are you kidding me? You have a tenant now. This is a landlord-tenant thing.
Right.
And they're like, no, that's my son. I'm like, no. He hasn't been your son in at least 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over. But anyways, so if my daughter goes to a friend's house and a gun gets pulled out, I already have a pact with her that if she stops everything that's happening, she unloads the firearm, and she gives a firearm safety lesson, she gets a free car.
Jesus Christ.
Because it's that important to me.
Hi, Dad.
Right? I know, you told me you had daddy issues. Like, that's getting weird.
Hey.
That's getting weird.
Hey, I didn't wink, so it's good. It's good. Well,
I have my
love it.
Ravencrest knife. It's gonna get bad. It's gonna get bad over here.
Right. Arms distance, please.
Well, speaking of the knives, we allow her to have a cert pistol, a practice pistol that has the working trigger and the lasers.
Mark that time.
But she's not allowed to cut her own food. So she's not allowed to have a knife in her hand, but we give her a practice pistol. So that's the other thing that we like to talk about in class about. It's just this kind of brainwashing that guns are bad. Well, so are knives. It depends on, I have a knife block. We have a knife block on our kitchen counter. And she walks past that 15 times a day.
That's
Now,
what cracks me up.
Yeah,
Right?
are we gonna
Yeah.
on knives now?
Yes.
So not to get on the whole
No,
gun issue,
it's fine.
but it's the way we're looking at it, and I think it's a brainwashing, and I keep going back to that because it's what they're pumping through the airwaves, and that's what kids are seeing and hearing, and the parents are talking about politics.
But you live that
and-
lifestyle.
We don't.
Yeah.
You live that lifestyle in Chicago.
Right.
That's a
So-
personal story that you dealt with. So
Yeah. So I have like basically a K-bar from when I was in the military. And I did a video on Facebook where I took a kitchen knife and I took my K-bar and then I took the 380 and then I took my AR-15 and I pointed to the kitchen knife. I said, "This is a knife." And I pointed to the K-bar and I said, "This is an assault knife." And I said, "This is a gun and this is an assault gun." I said, "No, that's not how this works."
yeah,
They are what they are. It doesn't matter what you try to name them.
correct.
The intent of what somebody does with that weapon is what makes them a weapon.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's 100%
Well,
where it was.
In my thinking, and again, from a law enforcement perspective and enforcement perspective, I'm not in the jurisprudence field of working in the courts, and I'm not in the civilian realm. But I live that world. But I'm right in that middle. But if we start enforcing the laws completely, with pertaining to the laws that we have now,
Yeah.
that would be a good start. That would be a good start. How about when unauthorized kids school shooters start killing people, and then we start going back and looking at how they're getting their guns. For example, the Columbine guns were purchased for a straw purchase.
Yeah.
Were purchased illegally. Were purchased illegally by somebody else and were given to the killers.
Right.
They weren't charged. They were not charged federally for that.
Yeah.
So how about we just start enforcing the laws that we have, and that will be a good start.
I like
And we'll
it.
see how that works. And then use that as a case study to build, if, we need to tweak these laws, we need to change these laws. Maybe because we're enforcing the laws that we have now.
Gotcha. I like it.
It's just bigger thinking.
Well, that's the thing when when everybody, the first thing everybody starts jumping on, oh, we gotta take guns away, we gotta ban guns, we gotta this, we gotta that. Like, start and look at the laws. There's not the laws that are there. Like, there's no law that would prevent certain things from happening. But if you take the laws that you have on the books and follow through with them every step of the way, half of the crimes couldn't exist
Correct.
because it would have been stopped
Correct.
10 steps in the past.
Right.
And they wait until it's a blow up, and then everybody just points fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
We'll talk about it off air, but I got a few little things.
Tidbits?
Yeah. For you.
But it's funny because I don't know how many people we've had at the range, because I have an AR-15 that I carry on duty. I have an AR-15 at home.
Yeah.
And people are like, those scary black rifles. And I'm like, have you ever shot an AR-15? And they go, no. And that's my realm that I live in, from former military and current law enforcement. That's my realm that I live in and pertaining to that rifle. And people ask me all the time, what's the best home defense gun? It's got to be a 12-gauge shotgun. I'm like, absolutely not.
No, yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, unless you're shooting a slug.
Correct. I said, but you have the aspect of the over-penetration.
Yeah.
The slug will go through most of your house.
I almost went there. Good.
What's that?
I always say something stupid. Sorry. You said over penetration. I was like, ask my wife. Yeah, sorry.
So you have all of those factors. You have all those factors, and then the operation of the gun itself. That the average person just can't. They can learn how to shoot shotgun, but the the learning curve is quite steep.
Yeah.
Can you change out the ammunition? There are a lot of people go, I like the shotgun because I can change out the ammunition. I can carry slugs or I can carry buckshot. I say, can you do that on the fly?
Right.
Can you change out on the fly a single slug select or a double slug select or change from there? And they're like, no.
Right.
I'm like, that's where
Bird
training
shot,
comes.
buckshot.
That's where training
Name
comes
it,
in.
yeah.
And then they're like, oh, handgun. I'm like, actually, a handgun takes more training, a steeper learning curve than a rifle.
And dude,
it's a lot harder.
I'll be the first to tell you I suck with handguns.
Yeah.
Like target shooting. Like
Not so much?
No, but you put me with an AR-15, like
Ready to go.
I'm shooting rattlesnakes from a distance, like
Correct.
no problem. Yeah.
And so then you have 30 rounds available to you, or whatever your laws allow. You typically have an optic system, you have a lighting system, you have a sling, and children can shoot this firearm. And
Breathing techniques from
Correct.
the prone position,
Or-
trigger pull,
Yes.
everything. It's key.
And then the other aspect is the last one is that a quality 5.56 or 2.23 round that is good quality for defensive use will go through less walls than handgun rounds.
Yeah.
So now you don't have that, to use your words, over penetration
Right.
aspect into
Those are
walls.
your words. I was just having fun with it.
Well, your meaning behind the words.
I'm just having
See, I
fun.
just started thinking about what he was
Right,
talking
yeah.
about. So yeah, there's a lot of myths out there, and it's because of the internet. It's because of the media. I had a very very staunch discussion about the AR-15 that they blow huge holes into people. I'm like, have you ever shot somebody get somebody shot by
Yeah.
a 5.56? It's a very small permanent cavity.
Yeah.
It's a very large temporary cavity inside, but it's a very small temporary cavity. I said, now have you seen somebody get shot with a 12 gauge slug?
Right.
It's carnage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and they're like,
Just shoot a watermelon with one.
Correct.
And shoot a watermelon with the
but
other.
we're not talking about the 12 gauge shotguns. We're talking about the evil black rifles.
Right.
And now I don't want them to go after 12 gauge shotguns now. But it's a reality of the situation. It is absolute misinformation and
Well, it baffles me because it's it all goes back to education through the whole thing anyway. But yeah, the scary black rifle, but that hunting rifle on the shelf right next to it is the same .223 round that they use to hunt deers with.
nailed it.
Why? Because one looks scary. One is an assault rifle. One is scary looking. One is like.
And that is a legal term. The assault rifle is a legal term.
That's crazy.
It's not a technical term. It's not a mechanical description of the rifle. It does not describe the rifle. It's a legal term.
Yeah.
Liability and all that. It's all legal. Those are all legal terms that somebody put a label on at one time in history.
Tell the
And
listeners what AR actually stands for.
Does someone don't know?
I'm being dead serious.
Armalite rifle.
A lot of people don't know that.
Armalite rifle.
Yes.
Eugene Stoner, the creator of the AR-15.
No, it stands for
Assault rifle.
Yeah.
Assault rifle.
Shoots 15
or automatic
rounds a
rifle.
second.
Yeah.
Or automatic rifle.
Automatic.
So I've heard automatic rifle,
Yeah.
assault rifle.
Well, the
stands for Armalite.
AK-47 is automatic killer.
Oh, is it?
Have you heard that one yet?
Really? I've
No,
never heard that
dude,
one. That one's
I'm
new
not
on
even
me.
joking. I'm
But-
not even joking. Who needs an AK? Who needs an AK-47? That's an automatic killer. You don't need one of those. I was like, oh
Well,
Lord.
but the
somebody
AK
had
does
said-
have automatic in it, though.
Yeah. no.
Automatic Kalashnikov.
Yeah.
But I've also had instructors. I had one instructor that I worked with. I wouldn't say he's a colleague, but this is how misinformed it is. I actually had an instructor say that an AK-47 does not have a safety on it. And I'm like, you mean that big flap that goes up and down?
I was about to say, like, wait, what?
That's
like,
a huge. But
Yeah.
again, it's so pervasive in our society that if I take an internet class and I get my piece of paper, I become an instructor.
Yeah.
Or I take a 4-hour, and this is where we're going to dog our own curriculum. I take a 4-hour concealed carry class, and now I'm good.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
need any other training. Now I'm not saying take more training with Guardian, but there's people that truly believe I take a 4-hour class, concealed carry class, and I'm good.
Right.
I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah. No.
That's
not
why
how
I
it
end
works.
conversations that have preconceived notions and cognitive dissonance that I can't change.
Yeah.
If you ever hear me say good luck with that,
That means the conversation's over.
and we're done.
Yeah. I love it.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
let's wrap it up with a statement. For listeners out there who don't think they should attend a concealed weapons carry course, I'm not specifying yours. I want a statement as to why they should attend. What would you say to the listeners that don't know anything about handguns or rifles or automatic killers? Well, give me a statement. What would you sum up what you guys do at Guardian as a statement?
For our concealed carry class, or
Or
for
any-
any, so our philosophy is this. We're gonna arm you with information so you can make a better decision later. And I'll give you a perfect example of some very good friends of ours. They're from Iowa.
Talk
They're
about
from-
the one in Fountain Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got some very good friends of ours. They're a married couple. I believe he's got handguns in the house, and then she wants nothing to do with handguns. But they both attended our CCW class because she wanted to know what it's all about. She knows nothing about the laws and knows nothing about guns, but she wanted to sit in our class to get the information. And after she sat in the class, you could almost see the light bulb kind of go off in her brain. And she said, now I get it. Now I understand what the signs mean when I see the no firearm signs. Now I understand where I can go to learn about the most up-to-date laws. And now I understand what my spouse is thinking when he carries and what he's legally allowed to do, with justification, of course. And so that's where we're trying to turn the whole industry kind of on its head to say, look, it's just information. We're not trying to shove anything down anyone's throats. We want you to be more informed. And I experienced that organically when I moved out to the Valley from Chicago, and I followed my dad. Poor guy can't get away from me. I followed him along the lines of the Chicago PD, but he would just organically tell people, oh, Karen, was a firearm instructor, because people would say, hey, I always want to learn how to shoot. You guys are cops, can you teach me? And he'd say, hey, Karen was a firearm instructor. She can take you out. She can show you. She can help you figure out what you want to carry, etc. And I realized there are so many people out there that want to learn and they want to know more. They just don't know where to go. And so that's what we're trying to do, is just being like an information house. And like Jay said earlier, we're not a training company, or we're not a tactics company that does training. We're a training company that can, if you want to just the bare basics, what kind of gun should I buy? Where should I carry it? How should I carry it? All the way to, shooting and moving. We can do all that too. So, so that's why we're trying to get that out to the public. Like, we're not just trying to shove it down people's throats. We're just trying to be an information house for people so they can learn more, and whatever it is that you want to get out of it, we can tailor it to that person specifically.
And I think that's what makes our company different, is because of our why, and because of what we teach and why we teach it. We want to empower our students with information, through education and information. Because all of our demographics of all our past students have been ranging from 6-year-olds, and our oldest student was 92 years old. We actually just secured a contract with a senior living community, an assisted living community in memory care, where these people are being targeted with scams. The elderly is being targeted with scams. The robocalls that all of us get, that from Africa and Eastern Europe, and taking your money. We're arming them with that information to say no, because the record I've had in law enforcement was $35,000. This lady got $35,000 taken from her by a scammer, and she was an elderly lady, and that was that's a life-altering event. And then we're working with the Pinal County Sheriff's Office. We're talking to some of their employees with safety and awareness. We have all of these demographics, and we want to arm them all. And this is nothing about, and a grand majority of that does not talk about guns. We glance on them, but it's not what we're talking about today. This very strong, I wouldn't say rhetoric, but this very strong gun talk. A lot of it is discussions about mindset, awareness, safety, having a plan, God forbid, without a firearm. That's the big thing a lot of people talk about. And I'll give you an example, is the Route 91 Festival. Because I'm an active shooter instructor, working with the federal government on that regard, I get privy to a lot of after action briefs with these active shooter events. And the Route 91 Festival, there should have been, in my opinion, twice as many people dead. And the only reason there wasn't that many people dead was because there were first responders off duty, first responders on duty, former military that have been overseas and understand medical care, improvised tourniquets, hemostatic agents, occlusive chest seals or dressings on that. And then the other aspect is they're stealing trucks and putting bodies, live bodies on trucks and then taking them to the hospital. And then as quick as they get to the hospital, they dump the bodies off at the hospital. Then they go back and put more bodies on, and they go from there. So it's having a plan. And a lot of times it doesn't even involve a firearm. We're going to the Coyotes game tonight. People ask me all the time, you carry a firearm everywhere. Sometimes I can't.
Right.
You go through metal detectors at the stadium. But you're damn sure that when I go to the hockey game tonight, I'm going to have a plan. Because I'm going to have my daughter with us. I'm going to have a plan if somebody decides to attack, shoot the place up, or whatever the case may be. And none of it involves a firearm. Because we don't have them. We can't bring them in there.
Train and drill.
Train and drill.
Love it.
What are you doing today to prepare for tomorrow? That's our motto.
Love it. Well, where can our listeners find you guys?
gtctrain.org is our website. Facebook, Instagram, Google, Yelp. Those
Okay.
are all of those.
So on Instagram.
Instagram, we got Gaurdian Training Consulting.
Okay.
And then same thing with
Facebook.
Same thing as Facebook.
Okay.
So Gaurdian Training Consulting, Facebook and Instagram, and then Google, Yelp.
Website is gtctrain.org. That's where we have all of our classes listed, and you can contact us through
Yeah.
our website.
A lot of people ask, we don't have scheduled firearms training. We don't schedule it, but we do private instruction. That's what makes us different as well. We can come to you. We've done so many customized classes, from corporate events to doing concealed carry classes for a motorcycle club in a living room. We got 15 people together. 15 people together did it in a living room on their flat screen TV and did a concealed carry class, and they got all their concealed carry permits for that.
That's awesome.
So we can come to you and then schedule firearms training through us. The weather's getting cooler, so we're probably going to go outside here very, very soon. I'm not averted to going in 100-degree weather, but
I am.
I'd rather not.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, that's where we deliver that customized experience. Just contact us, give us your problems, and we'll try to give you solutions.
All right. Well, I'll end with the fact that I value not your company. I value you as people.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is it? Community. I value the community that you present with just the overall knowledge. The lack of individuals that don't have this knowledge need to seek it. So people like you are what bring communities together properly. So
Means a lot.
yeah, hard. What is going on with my? Yeah.
Are you choking up?
A little bit, dude, because we just talked about this the other day.
Wow.
Community's hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, without people that come together like this and help one another out, people don't learn. So, we'll wrap it up right there.
Brother.
Whiskey Tango Talks. Thank you guys.
Thank you.